Okay, I'm here. I'm about to chat to this gentleman needs no introduction, okay? I'm gonna chat now to Clem, and I can't wait. And he's over there waiting for me. So let's do it. There are lots of things I want to ask you, but can I just begin by saying, asking you, how old were you when you started the drums, and why?
I was nearly 17 when I started, which is, there were guys around me that, my peers and that, started when they were sort of 5 and 6 and 7 years old. But I went to see a film called Jack Blackboard Jungle, and it's when the first rock and roll record was like in the chart, which was Rock Around the Clock. And two mates of mine who played guitar, I had no sort of interest in music as a player. I mean, I liked listening to music, because my mother was very sort of Latin American orientated. She used to listen anything Latin American. She used to listen to. So maybe, I think we've discussed this before, that Latin is the basis of rock and roll anyway. And we came out of the cinema on, the Rock Around the Clock blew us both all the way, and they said, let's form a rock and roll group. So I said, yeah, okay. What do I play? And they said, well, you play drums. So I did.
Wow.
And I was nearly 17 now.
So, and what did you do? Did you teach yourself? Had you ever picked up sticks before that time?
Nothing. I'd never even, didn't know what drumsticks looked like.
Wow.
But then I went to, fun enough, one of the guitar players had a friend who played drums with Eddie Calvert, if you can remember that far back. And I was talking to him, he said, get yourself the Buddy Rich drum tutor, which has got all the rudiments in it. So in my break when I was working for my dad, because I'm working in his gaff, and I used to go up to my room and just lunch break and morning break and just practice.
And did you have a snare drum? Or
No, a practice pad.
Practice pad.
I played on a practice pad, which is good, but I mean, it's never the same as, And then I just developed from there. We started playing as a rock and roll group, and I suddenly thought, oh, I like this. And then and that was it, sort of the start of my career as such.
And were your parents musical?
Not at all, no. Nothing, no. But I say my mother liked Latin American music, but apart from that, no.
And did you ever put on albums and play along to them in your room upstairs, just for fun?
Oh yes, I mean I was always funny. I was always I like big bands.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to a lot of big band music. Well, that's all it was about then, until the changeover came from the sort of big band music to the rock and roll music. But we didn't have poor record players in those days. You had either radiogram or you had nothing.
Yeah.
So I just used to practice. In fact, I used to listen to music like Radio Luxembourg on a crystal set. If you can remember that, you're probably too young, but
yeah, no.
It was a little thing that you had to get it in the crystal the right way. And you could.
Really?
You got radio. Oh yeah, it was interesting. I made it myself as well because you had kits in those days. It wasn't even any sort of portable radios, So that's where I listened to my music, and of course, what blew me away was the American, like Presley and all that sort of stuff,
So yeah, when you were growing up, who were your influences?
Yeah, it's a shame really. Most of them, obviously Americans, like Presley, most of those guys from America, and also some big. I love Basie, really loved the Basie band. I think it was, to me the rock and roll band of big bands, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I used to swing like hell, and that was what I really liked. The feel was unbelievable. When Sonny Payne was on drum as well. But it was just, and I just sort of fell into it. We started doing these gigs with the band, the two guys. And in actual fact, we had a tea-chest bass player. It wasn't even a proper bass. It was just a guy with a tea-chest and the broomstick handle and the piece of string, And then it sort of developed from there. Then I started working down a place called the Two Eyes Coffee Bar in the West End. And that's where myself and Brian Bennett became very good friends, because we were like the house drummers.
Okay,
if he did it, I did it. If he didn't do it, I did it. It was one of those sort of situations. And it went from there. And I think we just the constant working of playing, where my technique, such as it is, it's not that good, but as such as it is, it's sort of developed.
When did your first kind of break come, your first opportunity, where you look at it, that was a defining moment in my career?
Well, actually, when I was down the Two Eyes, we were, the guy who owned he didn't own the Ties, he ran the Two Eyes because it was he was the manager, and they opened another place in Gerrard Street called the New Two Eyes, and then we were working down there as a band, and this agent came down and said that Max Wall, if you can remember him, you probably don't. Again, you're too young. I know this is going back, and he wanted a rock and roll group to do a tour with Max Wall because he was doing a Bill Haley skit, like with the Chris Curl and Kiss Curl and all that, and he did like Rock Around the Clock on stage. He wanted to do it with a rock and roll band, and we had our own spot on there, and we did this thing with Max. So that was about 3 months. We did that tour, and that's really gave me the break. I never nearly did the tour because I wasn't a great player by any stretch of imagination, and it was on that tour I used to go into the theatre every day and practice.
You did, yeah.
Oh yeah, sort of 4 or 5 hours a day.
Wow.
Well, what they say, no, without pain there's no gain.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that's really, and then when we finished the tour, we came back to London after the tour. Well, I lived in London, but he came back to London after we finished the tour. And a guy called Terry Dean, who was a big star in those days, a singer, very good singer actually. And the guy said, do you fancy going out as his backing group? And we went out then called the Dean Aces, which is Terry Dean and the Dean Aces. And that's really what started my career. Then I had an incident because I still wasn't, I don't know how I got away with it, to be honest. I'll be very honest when I look back. I think, how did I survive? Something must have been shining on me, because we were doing the tour with Terry Dean, and the manager, he came up to me and said, look, you've got to get your backside in gear. He said, because if you don't, you're going to be out.
Wow.
And I went, oops. But that's why I went in every day, and I practiced like mad, and obviously they must have seen there was a bit of an improvement. I think I was lucky in a way because I had a reasonably good feel.
Yeah.
That's really what did it. I had no technique, but I could play rock and roll, basically, eventually,
Tell me about how you got involved with the Tornadoes, how that came about.
The Tornadoes, my career with the Tornadoes, such as it is, or was, I was with a guy called, my first number one, believe it or not, the first time I ever went in a recording studio and recorded with a guy called Johnny Kidd, which was Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, was Shaking All Over. Yeah. And it ended up as number one. I was with John for about 18 months, 2 years. And then his work, I don't know why, because John was a great singer. And I don't understand why the work started dropping off. And a guy called Colin Hicks, who was Tommy Steele's brother, was a massive star in Italy. And I mean a massive star. He was revered. And he asked us as a group, the Pirates, to go over with him to Italy to do it. And I didn't want to go.
Right. Because
my first daughter had been born, just literally, and I didn't want to. But it was one of those situations. The band we either all went or none of us could go.
Right.
Which I should have said. Well, I didn't want to go because I didn't want to go because I really enjoyed working with John. Anyway, we went to Italy. It was a disaster.
Really.
It was the worst 3 months of my life, I think. One of the,
wow.
And that's when I decided I'm never going to go away for more than 6 weeks at a time. As a family man, came back to England, and Alan Caddy, who was our guitar player, phoned me up and says to me, I'm going to go to this audition down in Holloway Road. The guy's looking for musicians for a studio band. And he said, well, why don't you come with me? I said, to a bit of moral support. And it was a Saturday, and the Arsenal were away, so it was okay.
That's fortunate.
Yeah, that was lucky.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I went down there with him, and he said to Joe Meek, do you mind if my mate plays some drums while I play? Because he's just on his own guitar. Joe said, yeah, no problem. So we did a couple of numbers. It was a bit of guitar and drums. And when he finished, he said to Alan, yeah, you're a good player, which he was, a very good player. What about your mate? Does he want a job? So that was it. I got the job. And that was how the birth of the Tornadoes.
Now, obviously, we've got to talk a little bit about Telstar because, you know, it's and I'd like to talk about the film, and a bit about Joe. The first #1 in America. That record.
Yeah.
And do you remember, like, does it stick in your mind? You know, I mean, a lot of us have seen the film, so but what do you think? How was the film a good representation of what happened?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, we were the first band to get a #1 in America because I think what's her name? A clarinet player. We used to wear a bowler hat. I had one #1, but we were actually the first band to get a #1 in America,
Right.
which, I know, is another story. The thing with the film, it was a very good representation of, because I mean, a lot of people, especially what I call the meat freaks, they complained that it wasn't a lot of music in it, but it wasn't a musical. It was about somebody's life. It was about him as a person and why his career went and the way he went and why he ended up, shooting the landlady and shooting himself. So that's what it was about. It wasn't about the music side of it. We did music in it, but not to that extent. But no, the representation was very good. It's the old story with films. There's a lot of what they call artistic license.
Yeah.
The bit where they threw the tape recorder out the window. In actual fact, it wasn't. It was threw it down a flight of stairs at me.
He did.
Yeah, that happened, but it was down a flight of stairs. But it looked more spectacular in a film coming out the window.
Yeah. Obviously, James Corden played you.
Oh, James. Well, he wasn't known then.
Right.
James Corden wasn't the big star that he was today.
Yes.
I think he was just a sort of like a jobbing actor at the time. He came to my house actually, and had a chat. He wanted to get into character. So I just said, just be bolshy. I said, that'll do you. But no, the guy that played Joe Meek did a fantastic job.
Oh, wasn't he? I mean, an incredible actor. When I watched that film, I was so drawn in, and and I've said to people, this is an amazing film, whether you're a music lover or whether
absolutely.
And his
sure.
I mean, what was Joe? What was Joe like? Was he like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was. I suppose they say bordering on madness, being a genius. I mean, sound wise, I mean, even today, you play Telstar, and it was recorded over 60 years ago.
It's like so futuristic.
Yeah, and also the equipment that he had to record on. I mean, it was talking about basic. I mean, he had a twin track or tape recorder, 2 of them, which used to bounce from one to the other. And then, I mean, the sounds, where he got them from, God knows. And it's hard to explain, because unless you've got a picture of the equipment that he had, you can't believe that he recorded that. Well, not only that, but other records that he recorded on the equipment that he had. But, I mean, musically, and I've said it a million times, he was a moron. He hadn't got a clue musically,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that's it. Because of what, you didn't play an instrument, and he just...
No, he didn't play anything. He had a guy up there, Jeff Goddard, who was a piano player, mate of his, that did all the thing. He'd hum. I mean, we hit the Telstar, we were given the demo of Telstar where he was singing over the top of a track that had absolutely nothing to do with the song whatsoever. The chords didn't even fit what he was singing to, and we had to decipher it all and sort of put it in some sort of order. I always said we as a band never really got as much credit for what we did, musically on the thing is, and I'm not,
no,
having a go at Joe because he was a genius, but we had to sort out the chords. I mean, I decided on the sort of the rhythm, which was a moving rhythm because it was a rocket and all that, and then I said let's put a key change in the middle to make it even sort of more if you like, a more sort of feeling of movement. But that was all our ideas, not Joe's.
Wow! So you guys sat in the room and you just kind of like thrashed it out between you.
Yeah, exactly. We'd just done it between basically 3 of us, because the other 2 forget it. But I mean, the 3 of us basically, and that's how But yeah, I mean, when you think the sound he got, I mean, that's what he was good at, Joe.
Yeah.
And the way he went, he could have a wicked. I mean, well, he threw that tape recorder down at me, you know, and also other. I mean, he threw. There was another incident only because I'd said our second record, which I still don't like, a thing called Globetrotter. I don't like it. Never have done to this day.
Why is that?
It was too much like Venus in Blue Jeans.
Okay.
You know, there was a song out called Mark Winter called Venus in Blue Jeans. The start it was virtually the same.
Okay, yeah.
And I just didn't think. I thought it should have been Riding the Wind, should have been our follow up, which, fun enough, they released in America as the follow up. Anyway, so I just had to say I didn't like it, you know. And the next thing I know, I've got the tape recorder following me down the stairs, and there was another incident which I disagreed with him, and he threw a stool at me, you know, which fortunately, being athletic in those days, not like now, I managed to dodge and.
Gosh, what a character. There's this one,
Yeah.
I don't know whether this happened or not. There's that one bit in the film where, you know, Mitch Mitchell's sat in there.
Oh yeah, Mitch.
And
yeah.
he puts and he does the gun.
That's
Did
true.
that happen?
That happened. Yeah, I'm glad people realise it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was poor Mitch. Yeah.
Well, and you know, and when he, I mean, were you surprised when you found out? This is jumping around, just a bit on Joe, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
When he did end in the way he did, was
Yeah.
that a surprise? Or
No. Funny enough, I always said that I could never see Joe dying a natural death.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, he had a lot of problems. Be honest, he had, you know, he was gay, and in the '60s, you know, you were gay, you were a criminal, weren't you? Basically, and you know, and he got caught, didn't he, procuring and all that business. And I believe after I'd gone, because I'd had enough, you know, with all the changes in the band and that, I believe that the Cranes were involved. I've heard stories.
Yes.
I mean, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I've heard, you know. And he had a lot of problems, and also, of course, financially. You know, he didn't get a penny out of Telstar, you know.
No, because again, you know, some French.
That's right. Yes.
Said challenged him.
Yeah.
But he not the French guy. Joe won that, but it was too late.
Too
right?
late by then. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember because that they were supposed to have interviewed us as a band about the song. You know, I think they did and I'm sure that they asked us about whether or not, you know, did Joe sort of pinch it. I couldn't see. You know what they say: where there's a hit, there's a writ. So as soon as somebody's going to jump on the bandwagon and say, well, I wrote that or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Joe, as far as I know, generally wrote it, you know, and then we recorded it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because we gave us the song, we did it. So whether he got it from France or not, which I don't believe he did.
No.
I mean, he's proved that he didn't pinch it, you know. But by then, the poor guy was financially in straits, and then, of course, then shot himself, you know.
Gosh, what a story! What a piece of history to be. But you know when Telstar became number one, what was that? What was that like? Kind of, were you guys going, oh my goodness, or you know, was it kind of like a buzz, or was it just, you know, how did you feel about all that?
No, I've been around for some time, like with Johnny Kidd and Billy Fury and all that lot. I'd done all that bit with Larry Parnes shows and all that. The Johnny Kidd era and all that. So I'd been around a long time by then. I suppose, about 5 years I'd been in different bands. So, because I remember I was in the toilet, believe it or not, and Alan Caddy, the guitar player, banged on the door and said, have a look at this, and put the paper under the door.
Wow.
And it had Telstar, I think it came at number 9 or something, and then the following week it got to number 1. I don't know, I never really felt anything, you know. To me, it was just like, it's a better job than the last one, basically, you know, because I never saw myself as a star anyway, you know, like I wasn't. Drummers never are they? They're always at the back, so nobody knows who they are anyway.
Well, that's what I think drummers are. Well, being one, I think drummers are.
Well, we're the boiler room of the band.
Yeah, without you know, without the drummer keeping it together, the drummer's like the horse, you know, on the reins of the horse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's the gag about the difference between a London cab and a drummer, isn't it? A cab can only carry 4 passengers. You know.
Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one.
There are other ones, but they're too rude to mention. You see, when you think about it, all the guys around you are relying on you for the time.
Yeah.
But who do you rely on for the time?
That's it.
You know, you've got nothing unless you've got a metronome, you know, which is playing with a metronome is, I mean, I've done it, I've had to do it on films and stuff, but the thing is, you've got nothing, they can rely on you. They can rely on you for the first and or the third or the second and the fourth beats, you know. But you've got nothing to rely on as a drummer. You're the one that has to set all that, you know. This is what. But I think now, today, I think people are getting more appreciative of what drummers do and what drummers are than they were then. I mean, you know, in the 50s, when I started, you know, I mean, I have to be honest, if I came in the way I could play now, then I would never. If I came as I played then, now I would never get a look in. You know, wouldn't even be considered. It was only because at the time, what I could play, like when I started sessions. I mean, all my peers were basically big band drummers. You know.
And you were different, like you say.
Absolutely.
In your long career, okay, and amazing career. To ask you, you know, normally I ask, you know, can you think of a few career highlights or a few moments that stand out? I know we've talked about some.
I think I was more excited, I suppose, because it was my first recording session and the first number one with Shaking All Over, you know, and that mess up in the middle of it, which that drum thing,
yes,
it became sort of a iconic. I don't know why, because it was a mistake.
Yeah, but I mean, and everyone wants to play it.
And I still can't play it.
Did you ever? Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? When something happens like that is just
exactly,
and it's just
you
right.
try and do it again. I remember doing some sessions in France for a guy, and I did this. It was for me. It was an amazing fill-in. And I don't know why, and I just did it. And the guy said, "Oh, it's fantastic. Right, let's do another take." And when I came to that, I couldn't do the fill-in again.
Wow.
You know, he said me, "Come on, the same fill." I said, "I can't do it. I don't know what I did." You know, so the same with Shake It All Over. It was just a thing that I got into, which was supposed to be 1 bar, and it ended up as 2 bars. I couldn't get it. I got into it, and I thought, how the hell did I get out of it? And it ended up being 2 bars long. And the producer said, "No, we keep that. You know, so. You know, these things, they do happen sometimes, you know. But I suppose I got more, I say, pleasure. I mean, obviously being my first number one, the first time I ever went in a recording studio. But I mean, I've had a few highlights. I mean, when I had, you know, with Cliff, I was with Cliff for 2 years. That was quite nice, you know. But I never really got. Maybe I don't know.
No, this is what I said to you earlier. I think this is why you're so, you know, loved and respected, because it's just you've seen it as your job.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
And you know, and the way people regard you, you know, and the amazing tracks you've played on and the piece of history that you are, but you were just doing it. You didn't know any different.
No, exactly. I was just and I've said it all along, I was a jobbing musician. Yeah. And then whether you think I'm a drummer or not being a musician, we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are. You know, I mean, guitar players are only electricians with a slight knowledge of music anyway. so don't worry about
it. That's funny.
But no, the thing is, I've always classed it. I was very, very lucky. I've got to be honest. I'm not saying it to be modest. I generally feel I was very lucky because I came in at a time when, you know, I was asked to do recording sessions because the fact is I could play rock and roll, or I had a rock and roll feel, or I've been told in subsequent years that my time was very good, which thank God, I don't know why, and my feel was good. And also engineers, they liked the sound of my kit. They said when you came in the studio, we knew we were going to get a good drum sound, which was nice, you know.
So did you? I mean, actually, that's an interesting point. You know, as a technical point, I don't talk a lot about that. But when you went in a studio and you had a producer, obviously, you know, did the producer leave it up to you how you wanted your kit to sound? Did you have an idea of how you personally wanted it to sound, and did you experiment with that?
No, I had a kit of sound which I liked. You
Yeah.
know, I tuned my drums to the Cookhouse Store Boys, dun 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 dun. That's how I tuned my tom-toms at that time. You know, it seemed to work. And the thing was, no, I mean, the engineers were the ones that they either liked or they didn't like your sound.
Yeah.
You know, they were because I mean, an engineer in the studio they could make or break you. You know, to be honest. But no, I mean, mates of mine I've still got now, were engineers. They say that they used to, when I used to come in the studio, they know they weren't going to spend all morning trying to get a drum sound. That they're playing that the sound was right. You know, so they tell me. You know.
Okay. Yeah, isn't it? And I read somewhere, and that you took the front skin of your...
Yes. I was watching an American television program and I saw the guy on there had the front head of the drum taken off, and he had a blanket or a pillow inside, and I thought, oh, I'll give that a try. And I did, and of course engineers loved it. They could put the mic inside the bass drum, and then I took the bottom heads off the drums, and they loved that as well, going to put the mics inside. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I always felt that, I remember listening to, when I was doing the Joe Cocker album, that the guy that did, I forget his name now, the producer. Anyway, he said, "Here, come and have a listen to this." And he's playing me an American track that he did in America. I can't even remember who the session was, who it was for. They were doing it, and he said, and he played the drum track, and every single drum was ringing. Every single thing you hit the gun, you could hear bang, and the snares were rattling, and everything. And he said, "But have a listen to this." Then he started putting the other tracks in, and then when it got the tracks, all the tracks that were on there, like the brass and the strings and all that, the drums sounded fantastic. No ringing, because you know what, I think people forget that drums are an ambient instrument. You know, the ambience of the drums. I mean, I'm sure the worst thing is if you're sitting on stage and you can't hear yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're on a rostrum with the sound's going through the floor, and you're sitting there battering hell out of it, and you can't hear. You know, because they are an ambient instrument, and I think a lot of the times on sessions they were shaking all over. I had one mic over the top and one mic on the bass drum, and that was it.
Wow.
You know, and Telstar, I mean, I didn't have a bass drum, I played on the bass drum case, you know, with the pedal. So, you know.
Really?
And I had, people don't realise now, I played it on brushes.
Did you?
Yes. It was played on brushes.
Wow.
The whole of the track was brushes. And, you know, which I mean, obviously when I was on stage I used to play it on hi-hat, but, you know, it was done on brushes.
Okay.
Okay.
So Clem, I would like to ask you my drum quest question,
Fine.
which is the, yes, it is what my drum quest is about, which is, what, in your opinion, makes a good drummer?
Well, first of all, time, obviously. I mean, that's what you're there for, basically to keep time. And secondly, it's to learn to play the song. You have to use your ears, which is another thing. I mean, I remember doing a thing with Thomas Lang, who was a phenomenal technician. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen him.
No, I've not seen him play, but I know who he is, and
phenomenal. But like he says, if he played like that on a gig, he'd get fired.
Yeah.
So that's what you've got to play, the song. That is the main first rule. You play the song, use your ears, play the song, and keep time. You know, I mean, I've never been what I call an Olympic drummer. I can't flash around the kit 300 miles an hour. No, I can't. I mean, that thing last Sunday, you know, some of the technique, I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, I was sitting and thinking, thank God I gave up, you know.
This is at the Bob Armstrong,
the Bob Armstrong
tribute.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, well, because some of the thing, and it's nice now, but I think like the actual techniques of drumming and the drumming scene has changed completely from when I was doing it. Because the thing is now, I mean, some of the guys are phenomenal players. Wouldn't every one of those.
Yeah.
you know, what can you say about them? You know?
I mean, but it's this thing. You're known for. You played on. I don't know the exact number. 44, 45.
41. I don't know.
Something.
I've got to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, hit number ones. Hundreds more records.
Yep.
Would you know? People, I presume, producers, songwriters wanted a drummer that would make everything sound great. You know, you put you put like there's a time and a place for it all.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, absolutely. I know what you're saying. I mean, I was lucky basically because I couldn't read music. I didn't know the difference between a crotchet and a hatchet, to be honest with you. Seriously, you know, and it was only eventually when I got into the session scene, I had to learn to read. But I mean, I used to go and the guy said, well, look, you know what to play, just play. This is the song and play. They used to give me a song sheet and I'd play, when they're singing the song, I'd play along with it. And eventually I started getting stuff where what I played, they were writing down. And I was looking at it going, what the hell's that? I can't read that, I can't play it. You know, there was an instance where I did a session for a mate of mine, Jim Sullivan, who was a very fine guitar player. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. And he was the musical director on it, and he gave me the part. I looked at it, I went, Jim, I said, I can't play that, I can't even read it, I can't play that. He said, well, come upstairs and listen to the demo. I went upstairs into the box, put the demo on, and it was me on the demo. But because when I did it, I just did it. I didn't have to, you know. And then suddenly I had to try and read it and play it. It was a different story. It's like if somebody's written out Shaking All Over and written the fill, I wouldn't be able to play that. I wouldn't be able to read it, you know. But eventually I had to learn to read, you know.
Okay. Why do people use you? Why were you so successful? What was it about you?
I think possibly, I mean, I don't know, I've been told possibly my time and also, you know, the fact I was a pop drummer. You know, I said I was never an Olympic drummer and I just played straight down the line. That's what most people wanted. I never got in the way. I played, again, I've said it a million times, it sounds boring, but I played the song, you know. Yeah. And I think, I suppose, as well, because I had a reasonably good drum sound. And that was it, really. I mean, I don't know why producers like me, you know, like me, my playing, or the MDs like my playing. But I mean, a lot of the times that I did sessions, they didn't even bother writing me a part. They just give me the music, like the chord chart. You
and
know,
they'd say,
yeah, you know,
you go.
Play, you know, you can play better than what we can write. So that's really, but that's how it started. I mean, I did come up against it a few times. When I walked in, I looked and they gave me a part and I'm going, what the hell's that, you know? And then sort of, you know, and then suddenly you get the cold sweats and you go, oh my God, can I go home now, sir, please, you know? But, you know, but then I started doing television stuff, which is even worse, you know. I mean, you know yourself, you walk in the studio, they throw you the parts, you've got 3-4 numbers to play and you've got to read them, you know.
Gosh.
I mean, reading, you know, another thing is people make a big deal about reading. Yeah, reading is a means to an end. Mm-hmm. It's not the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had this conversation with a mate of mine who's a fantastic reads bird. Look out window and see birdies on a telegraph pole, he'll play it. You know, it's one of those. He really reads so well. But it's not the end, it's the means to an end.
Yeah.
You know, the guy was great, but couldn't play a 12-bar off his head.
No, I was going to say, you know, you can, like you say, it's maybe a useful tool to have in session situations, but your timing, your feel,
your feel, that's the basic of everything. You feel your time. Time basically is the thing. That is the main thing.
And who do you consider, I say good drummer, great, who are the great drummers to you, you know?
Well, Steve Gadd.
Yeah.
Steve Smith, who's a very good friend of mine, Steve Gadd. You've got, the English ones, I like Ralph Salmins.
Yes.
I like what's his name? The Welshman.
Ian Thomas?
Ian Thomas.
Yeah.
Well, any one of those that were on stage that night, any one of those I'd say, yeah, great, you know.
Yeah. Drummers, young drummers today, or yeah, people that haven't been playing
Yes.
that long, would you say that they're doing things differently to how things
Yeah.
used to be done?
I'd like to get on that thing actually, because
Yeah.
what I not fear, but the thing I think the sad part about it. I mean, I'll go. I find that when I started playing, my music lessons when I was at school was the dear old geography lady coming and putting an album of classical music on, putting it on the thing, go, right, see you, and go and have a cup of tea. And that's your music lesson, which now, you go into school, they've got recording studios, they've got all the instruments, they've got everything. And what I feel, that one thing you can't teach, and that's feel. And I find a lot of these young kids, they come out, they've got the most phenomenal techniques, but nothing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing happens, it's point. I mean, I did one record which I listened to, fine, but it's really, there's no feel to it, which I think Hurdy-Gurdy Man with Donovan.
Yeah.
I mean, what I did, going around the kit 100 miles an hour, but what did it achieve? Was it all it achieved that I knew that I could play rolls around the kit? But there wasn't a great feel on the record, was there really? Well, maybe there was, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
But
good
you understand
record.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's why I find that they concentrate so much on technique.
So what's going to happen? Do you think, like what would you say to that? What would you say, to people like me, but to young drummers that are coming, that want to be in the industry or that are learning, what advice would you say to them?
Well, again, use your ears.
Yeah.
Listen to what other people playing, and play with them, and play the song. That is the most important thing, that you're playing what the song requires. Not, one of the first sessions I ever did for George Martin, I got in the studio, I went upstairs to listen to playback, and it sounded like World War IV. I thought, and they were looking at me going, what the hell? No, we don't need all that.
Yeah.
And it made me realise that they wanted straight down the line. They wanted a feel, and they wanted a reasonably good sound and a good feel and time.
And coming back to these things about what makes you great, what makes other people, your timing, was it you were just a great human metronome, or was that something that you worked on specifically?
No, specifically I've got to be honest, I didn't know myself. Never even thought about it.
Yeah.
Until a few years back, when somebody said to me, your time was so good and your feel was good. I never even thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just,
because this is an interesting point from my point of view and from people watching this. It's like, talking to people like you, and this whole idea that I've touched on in other chats about this self-awareness. Yeah, it's like you say, no, I wasn't necessarily aware of it.
No,
I just did it. And other people have said, I wasn't aware of it until someone said it to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess the phone kept ringing. So you knew you were doing something right.
I was doing something right. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware. Nobody ever said to me, I always remember one of the first sessions I ever did with a big band. I'd been doing I was at Pi Studios and Number 2 Studio, which is a small studio, doing an album with the Kinks.
Yeah.
And the next day I was in the other studio, Number 2, which is the bigger studio. I didn't know who it was anyway, because they never told you. And I walked in, I left my kit in there, and I thought, so I can have a lay-in, get there 10 minutes before the session starts, because I've got enough to set up. And I walked in, and it was wall to wall with musicians. And I think I went wild. I thought, oh God. I mean, I'd never played with brass players before. I never played with a full orchestra before, And I sort of crept over to the corner. And the problem was, as a player, you're always thinking of people are listening to what you're doing, but they're not. They're worried about their own part.
Yeah.
The trumpet player's worried about what he's playing. And anyway, I walked out, sat there, and we did a couple of run-throughs, and the percussion player, I'll never forget this, because it stuck in my mind. He came over and said, hello. He said, my name's Stan Barrett. He was a very good percussion. I said, I'm Clem Cattini. He went, very nice playing, son, very nice playing.
Wow.
And I went, and I could have played anything after that. And I always remembered that. And I thought, if I were ever in the same position, and there was a guy that I'd never seen before, I'd go over and say to him, look, well done, mate, it's nice playing. Because nobody ever tells you. You know, they'll tell you you mess it up, but they won't tell you, you know, it's the old story of, did you hear that Clem had won £1 million on the pools? Oh no, but I heard he messed a session up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the philosophy. But it's a shame that people don't come up to you, you know.
Say
you know,
good and say yes and say good job, because there was this whole thing. Did you watch that film Whiplash?
Yes, I did. Yes.
You know, then there was this whole like, actually don't say good job, because if you say good job to someone, you know, then they're not. But actually, we're human.
You need it.
And we need. And when he said that to you, I bet you walked home 12 foot high.
I could have played anything. I could have played anything. Really, I mean, they weren't all listening to me. Yeah, they were listening to me to a point, but they didn't know if I was messing it up or whether they were getting it right, because, you know, they all wrote about their own parts. But, you know, nobody ever came up and said, you know, it's a shame, because that's why I always I said, if ever, I mean, Mo Foster was a mate of mine, he always mentioned the fact when the first session he did with me, and I went up to him and I said, oh, nice playing, it was really nice playing with you.
Oh,
you know,
that's
but
so
the thing
lovely.
is, but no, the thing is, why didn't people say, you know, I mean,
because you know, and when it's right on the drums, you know, that moment where it's just
God.
like like magic, you know.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, I remember doing a thing when I was with Alan Price, and we did a number, and it just happened, and the excitement. I felt sick with the excitement. It was so good, you know. Really, something just happened. I don't know what, and the feel was absolutely phenomenal for some reason.
Yeah.
And you do get, but the thing is, it's a shame really, because, you know, we're if you like, from want of a better word, artists. If you like, artistic. You have to be to play a musical instrument or whatever, and we all need praise. I don't care who you are. You know, I don't care. You know, I'm sure. I mean, one of the nicest compliments I had was from Steve Smith.
Yeah.
You know, because I know it probably sounds daft, but I never had a lot of confidence in my own playing, ever.
Right.
And I mean, even now, I don't listen to stuff that I played on, because I think, why did I play that? Why didn't I play something else? You know, why should I should have done, and I start getting self-critical. And I remember doing a thing, a thing Mike Dolbear used to put on, which was like a drum thing, and all the drummers used to go there, and there was a band, you could get up and play with the band and that. And I got up, and the usual, can you play Shaking All Over? Yeah, all right, so every time, you know. And I went over with Steve, who I became friends with, because he did a DVD of British drummers for America. And he said to me, do you know, he said, that was the first time tonight that band, it sounded like a band.
Oh.
Which I thought, well, that's nice, you know. But the thing is, we all need somebody to turn around and say, yes, you can play.
It keeps you going, doesn't it?
Well, you can play, because we all have self-doubts, don't we, as players, you know. I mean, I had terrible self-doubts.
And you said,
you know,
earlier you were hard on yourself, right?
I was, yeah, very much so.
And is that, do you think, why you became so good? Because
possibly, I don't know.
Because you were, you know, you thought, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to work. Like, did that come up in your playing that when you were younger? You thought, oh, that's not good, and I'm going to, I'm going to lock myself away until I get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it did happen that way in some respects. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was doing a television show, and they gave me the part, and I looked at them and nearly fainted, and I was upstairs in my bedroom, believe it or not, with the kit and learning to play this number, you know. So when I got to the television show, I played it, you know.
Wow.
But I don't know. I think because I came from a rock and roll background rather than the big band. I was always frightened of doing big band stuff. I did do it, but I mean, because I did the thing with Shirley Bassey at the Talk of the Town. It was always Johnny One Note, da da da, da, million miles an hour. And I played it. I didn't realise I played it until somebody sent me a video of it, you know. But the thing is, we all have these self-doubts, and it's nice when somebody turns around and says, nice one, just a little word, you know, because, especially when it comes from your peers.
Yeah.
I mean, now they tell me they thought I was good, you know, but if they'd told me then, I'd have probably been better, if you know what I mean. That little word of sort of encouragement, we all need, you know, I don't care who we are, we all need somebody, a bit of praise, you know, because you're because we play what we do. We are players, and we need encouragement, we need a bit of praise, and I think it's sad, really.
I think that's a lovely
That's
thing.
one of the reasons I gave up. I used to do a teaching thing with Mike Hurst. It was called Rock Masters.
Right.
And I had this kid, and the guy was so enthusiastic, like you would not believe. But he would never play drum. He hadn't got a clue at the time, anything.
Yeah.
And I spent hours with him trying to teach him. And I suddenly thought, how can I tell this kid to turn around, a 12, 13-year-old, look son, forget it, you ain't going to be able to play. I couldn't do that.
Oh.
I didn't want to do that. So I just stopped doing it, you know, because and that's why I don't teach.
Really?
Because I couldn't do that, you know.
Yeah.
You've got to be hard-nosed, I think, to be a teacher, to a point, you know. But
that's a very interesting point.
But people, you know, they have to realise we are human beings.
Yeah.
You know, we all need encouragement. We all need a nice word occasionally, because you know you're working. You know, when you're working on your talent, you're living on your talent. It's hard. You know.
And like you say, you have, you know, these years later, what sticks in your mind is that guy, that percussionist coming up to you and saying.
And another thing, another session I did, you know, I was having a bit of trouble with one of the phrases. I don't know why. It was a phrase I probably played 1,000,000 times, and it was written out, and I kept looking at it. And then the trumpet player, a bloke called Albert Hall, believe it or not, is a great trumpet player. Yeah, great. But there's
good name.
They're all brothers, about 4 of them, and all good musicians. And he came and he says, "All right, so you're having a bit of trouble with that, Clem?" I went, "Yeah." And I said, "We should just think of it. It's hold tight tickets, please." Oh shit, yeah, thanks. Came round and hold tight tickets, please. No problem. And those little things, you know, that really make a lot of difference. And the same guy, I remember I was been really working hard, and I was absolutely shattered. And I was sitting there having a cup of tea, and he said, "What's the matter with you?" I said, I said, "Albert, I'm really..." He says, "What do you mean?" He said, "What are you on about?" I said, "You know, we go in there," and he said, "Hang on." I said, "What's so special about you?" I went, "Nothing. Why?" He said, "Well, don't you think we all sit there, looking at the part and crapping ourselves?"
Oh, really?
He says, "You're not the only one, mate." And I thought, you know, I'm talking about top class players.
Wow.
And you think, it's only you.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, somebody just a nice word, put you at ease. You know, it's...
That's a lot, yeah. That is a...
I mean, I got to a stage that I used to get frightened going in studios, really. And I was offered the Kids from Fame tour,
Right.
which I did do eventually, and I turned it down twice.
Wow.
Because I didn't have the, to be honest with you, whatever you want to put it, I didn't have the courage or the bottle to do it.
Wow.
Because I thought, I can't do that, you know. And the guy persuaded me, and it was one of the highlights of my career. I really enjoyed it. It was great playing. The music was great, and I enjoyed the gig, you know. But I turned it down because of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And we all have these self-doubts. And then when somebody comes up and gives you a little bit of encouragement, it sometimes gets rid of those self-doubts, you know. That's why I always vowed that I would do the same to somebody if ever they were in that same position. But they just come a new face on the session, and obviously they're sitting there crapping themselves, you know. I used to, God, you know, I
Were
used
you
to have,
nervous? Yeah. What?
yeah.
Before a session, like, what? Yeah. When you turned up, were you? Did you have to go on your own for half a minute and just collect your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I used to go in and sort of like, if the music was there, have a quick look through the music, you know, and you go, oh Christ, oh God, you know. But no, I mean, some of the sessions I've got, and I knew the guy, you know, the producer, and that I knew the MD, and I know that they wanted me there, which another thing that helped. The fact you knew that you were wanted made the difference. It made you a bit sort of more sort of, well, happy to do it. You know, it will give you a bit more confidence. The fact you knew who you're working for, that did help.
Bit of a contrast to Joe Meek chucking something
Joe
at you.
yeah.
Did he ever say anything encouraging? Was he ever like that? Did he ever say?
No, fun enough, he wasn't. No, because he didn't know. In bless him.
Yes.
In fairness to him, because he, I say, musically he was a moron. He hadn't got a clue. You know, really.
Yeah.
I don't mean that derogatory. It
Yes.
is derogatory, but I mean I don't mean it that way. But no, but this is, you know, I really, that's one thing in my career that I wish somebody had told me earlier. They thought I played well.
Oh. All you musicians out there, do spare a thought for
For the new face.
For the new face.
Yeah.
And a word of encouragement years later
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll remember.
We all need it. We all need it, you know.
You've worked with so many people. I have to write it down to recount them. But is there anyone that you didn't work with that you wished that you would have liked to, ideally?
There's stuff people I've worked with what I wished I hadn't. Let's put it well. That's more.
You're gonna name them.
That's more of a point.
Go on, tell us.
No.
That's funny.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know really. I've never thought that. You know, I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that I work with, remember, I worked with them in the start of their careers as singers or as recording artists. I mean, Tom Jones, I did Green Grass at Home, but I mean, he'd already sort of quite a big star. Dusty Springfield, she was quite big. I won't go into the next one, but I'm trying to think who. I don't know really. I can't think of
it. Yeah, if you had to go back,
go
back in time.
Yeah, name somebody who you same of that era.
Yeah. Okay. Right. That you haven't played with. Well, that's quite a hard one.
Exactly.
You've
of that
played
era.
with most of them.
Of that era.
Yeah, of that era.
Because
So you know, there's so many people that you have played with.
Yeah.
Who? In later years? I mean, you did that thing for Paul Weller.
Well, yeah, it was great. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Any other, would you ever like to have played with Prince? Or, you know...
No.
Yeah.
Do you know, no, to be honest, I wouldn't, at that era, no, because the thing is, I wouldn't have been good enough to play with Prince. The stuff that they, you know, because the drumming scene had gone sort of leaps and bounds.
Elvis Presley.
Yes. Now, Presley, yes.
Okay.
Presley and, oh God, what's his name? Another guy at that time. Because I played with some of the Americans. Yeah, I suppose Presley, Yeah, but I'd have been good. I mean...
That would have been a good call to get.
Somebody had always said, I don't know, I always reminded, I was doing a session for one of the Everly Brothers, when they split up. I did an album with them. And he said, you play very much like Ronnie Tutt, who was Elvis Presley's drummer, you know. I thought,
oh.
But, so yeah, Presley, but there's not really, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I can't think of...
Okay.
I say I can think of people I wish I hadn't.
And yes. Yeah, that would be for the off-camera bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
Okay, another question I like to ask. Again, it's quite a hard one to answer. You know the dinner party, who would you have a dinner party, right? Anyone, okay, dead or alive, right?
Yeah.
So you do a gig.
Yeah.
Who's your bassist? Who's your vocalist? Who's in your band? Who's in your dream team?
Well, first of all, I would Gladys Knight on vocals.
Okay.
Oh, because I mean...
What a voice.
Well, I did Top of the Pops with her. I did last Midnight Train to Georgia. I know, I didn't have to play.
Oh.
I had her in the cat. Oh, it was such a really, really hard. Sort of guitar-wise, there's a guy that probably people that he was, it's still about, Ray Fennick, great bass guitar, John Paul Jones, because I worked a lot with John Paul Jones on bass. We were in the Lulu band together, so you know. Keyboards. A guy called Chris Parron, who I think is one of the best rock and roll piano players I've played with. Who else? That's my bass guitar. Did I just mention guitar?
Yeah, you've done. Yeah, you've done.
Frey Fennick, that's right.
Yeah.
It's my age.
And who's and the producer and the sound engineer. Let's have those two.
Yeah, the producer would be a guy called Mike Smith, who produced Everlasting Love.
Yeah.
Because he was a mate anyway, you know, we used to think. Yeah, and he was a friend. And I always felt very comfortable when I was to walk in to CBS to do a session, and Mike was, because I knew he wanted me there. See, that's another thing, they you know they want you there.
It's good vibes.
Yeah, you know, straight away you feel confident, you know. The sound engineers, Alan Florence, oh God, there's quite a few.
That's the Clem Dream Team.
Yeah.
Okay. And years from now, Clem, when you're no longer here, right?
Yeah.
When people talk about you, as they will, how would you like to be remembered?
He tried his best.
Oh, yeah.
What else can you say, you know?
That's
I mean, there's nothing really more, is there? I mean, you know, and no, the nicest thing I think is when you get praise from your peers. I think that is that's what really counts to me, you know. I mean, people, they either like you or they don't like you. I mean, obviously, there's people about don't like my playing, there's people about do like my playing, but when your peers sort of give you praise, and there's nothing nicer, I don't think. You know, I when I getting older was getting, your confidence goes anyway, you know, obviously, because you're not physically, I mean, when I started, I was physically a lot better than I am now, but I mean, and then you start, and then of course you get the other side of the knocks where, you know, people stop ringing you again, you know, and then, you know, I mean, it's the story of a session man, isn't it? Who's Clem Cattini? Get me Clem Cattini. I must have Clem Cattini. Who's Clem Cattini? Oh. You know, and that is a life story of a session man, you know. I mean, I used to have the session man's kit, which is a pencil with a rubber, a pair of asbestos-lined plastic trousers for roast ups.
That's brilliant. I like that very much. But you know what? You are a legend, Clem.
Well,
it's like I said, and
legend.
And you know, it's like I said to you before. You played on all those records that are a part of people's lives. They're a part of history, and
yes.
You know, and that is an incredible thing. You know,
a word that I've always said. I've said it before. If I'd have known how important what I'd done was going to be important now, I'd have played better in the first place.
There you go. Well, I think
it's true.
I think, yeah. I think they're...
But I mean, you know, it's very nice. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-hooing it. I mean, it's nice that people think that, but I can't see it, you know, because. But there you go.
Well,
if that's what people think, then thank you very much. You know.
He is a legend. I'm gonna come round in camera view now. This is to prove that I'm here, Clem.
Do you want to sit here?
Yeah, I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come and. You see?
Are you in?
I'm in.
She's in.
I'm in.
She's in.
Come on, let me feel these drummer hands. Let me feel them, right?
Like
come on, give me some magic.
They're like sausages,
right?
They're like sausages.
No, you know what? Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
And
it's
my
pleasure.
Love talking to him. I love my tea and my biscuits earlier.
Right, would you like a cup of tea and a sandwich now?
Oh.
Because it is lunchtime.
I think
it's
it'd be rude to say no.
Yeah, it would be rude, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
you see, this is why he's been so successful. He's a lovely gentleman, and I'd like to say, Clem Cattini in the house. Respect. High five.
Thank you. Oh, these drummers' hands, they're great. A bit smaller than mine, aren't they?
They are a bit smaller.
Yeah.
And yeah, rock on.
And keep playing.
Keep playing.
There's nothing better than be able to play a musical instrument. And I don't care what you say, drums are a musical instrument.
Respect, the final word.
Thank you very much.
Peace.
Peace and love.